Good morning and welcome to the Table Scraps podcast.
On today's podcast, we're recapping our experience at Boyne Thunder, and we've also got Katie joining us.
Woohoo! Yeah, go Katie. This is the first one we've done in a while, but we're happy to be back at it, and we hope you enjoy.
Money.
What if I want to stand up? Yeah, but I can't because then I won't be in the camera.
You'd probably still be on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine a moment where you want to stand up, but I guess if it comes to that, feel free.
Well, we do have to address that Katie's joining us.
Yes. Thank you for finally inviting me onto the podcast. I finally feel like I'm actually a part of the Scrapyard team.
You've just been listening quietly upstairs as
And
we've
then
recorded all these.
No one knew who I was or that I existed.
So technically you're not a guest.
No, I am the other part.
The third part of Scrapyard.
Yep.
Do you think you'll want to come back for more episodes? I guess you could probably answer that after the episode is over.
Oh, I already know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Long time coming, I would say.
Yep.
I think, I don't know why we haven't had you on yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
I think maybe we were afraid you'd steal the show.
Probably.
And that people just want you. It's just like when we go on shoots, where's Katie at? I'm like, I've been here for a year and a half. Like, okay, Brian.
Yeah, we were just afraid that you were going to come on and just talk about Myco the whole time.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about that. I will just let you guys take the lead, and I'm just here seeing how it goes.
Well, I think we are going to talk about Myco a little bit because Dennis, our Myco rep, came up and visited us at Boyne Thunder this week. So,
Myco, pull it in style.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
I love
plug.
Myco.
Yeah, Katie is the fangirl of Myco.
What do you love about Myco?
Well,
What do you love about trailers?
I love that they pay us to run their social media accounts, which has then made me become a big fan of the trailer. It's very easy to capture.
Mm.
There's only so many shots you can get, so that keeps it nice and simple for me.
And you like Dennis too, yeah?
Like Dennis, and I love the customers of Myco because they all love their Myco so much. So that makes it easy to fangirl when all the other Myco customers are also fanning over it. So
Yeah, the comments on some of these Myco posts just blow my mind. There's like 50 comments and they're all like, yeah, I love that trailer. Like, it looks so good with that boat. And Katie's just over here like watching the numbers go up.
yeah, it's amazing that there's been a few posts that have gotten like 2 million views of just a trailer being pulled. That's how much it's getting pulled in style, I guess.
It says a lot about the product, I guess.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, Brad, because I imagine you started that account. Like, did you land Myco? How did that happen? And then at what point did you hand it off to Katie to start managing it?
I think you've been managing it right from the start, right?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I did right from the get-go.
Yeah. Originally, John Smiley had worked there, and he had sponsored a couple video projects for us with Speed on the Water.
Oh, yeah, they were in the lead sponsor, right?
Yeah. So we did that with him for 2 years and got to know John pretty well through that. And then he left Myco to go work at CTS, and we met the new rep for Myco, and they wanted to keep us on. So that's Dennis, and we've been working with him for a little over a year now. So it's been good. And it was fun to hang out with Dennis. We brought him along with our family the whole time. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, I got to say, you've been crushing it with the Myco content.
Thank you. And Myco is actually what led me to joining the Scrapyard team.
Officially?
Officially. So when we got that account, Brad hired me as an employee officially.
Put you on the payroll?
Yep. So that was really cool.
I remember like when I first started and you were doing Myco and I was doing Unreal, and I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I couldn't get views. If I did, it was sparingly, and then you'd have like a 2 million view Myco trailer post, and I'm like, I can't do this. I don't get it. I need to do something else. I can't do social media.
Yeah.
But
And it's crazy with the Myco. There's just so much content available online. Like, just so many people are posting photos and videos of their Myco. So it's just like a lot easier to just find that content instead of.
Yeah, I feel like you have the whole thing dialed.
Exactly. It's great.
Yeah.
So it's been a few weeks since we last did a podcast, and we're sorry for that, but it's been busy. We've had Boyne Thunder last week, And the week before that, I believe that was your bachelor party, right? Or was it 2 weeks before that?
I don't know. I think I deleted about 2 weeks worth of memories. So
Well, we got to give a little update on the bachelor party because that was a hell of a time.
yeah, it was great. It was at a place in Tennessee in the Smokies. It was hot as hell. We still managed to hang out outside. The place had like an indoor pool. I'm finding more of that with these trips. We're booking for the amenities of the houses. So it's like, even if we end up spending the whole time together in the house, I mean, there was mini bowling, there's a pool table, in-home theater. So there was just a ton to do. I slept in that theater 2 out of 3 nights.
You did?
Slept on the living room couch the third night. Never made it to my king size suite. I should have known better. I should have given it to somebody else, honestly.
Yeah.
I should have known that I was just going to, I always fall asleep amongst the people. I've always done that my whole life.
And it always helps to just hang out at the house when you have your own professional chef on the trip.
Oh, yeah. Chef Garrett.
Yeah.
Garrett, one of my best friends and roommate, actually, he cooked 2 meals for us. He did all the meal prep. He was prepping for like 8 hours on Wednesday, the day before we left. But he
so
crushed
much
it.
food.
Yeah, he always does a great job with that. We thank him for it, and he likes it. You know, it's not, and he doesn't wash any dishes. He made that very clear from the beginning.
I did the dishes.
yeah. There's always a volunteer to take care of that.
Yeah.
It was weird being the guy that didn't do anything though. Like I liked it, and I also didn't like it at the same time. I felt like so useless all weekend, and I would go to do something. I'm like, nope. Every time somebody tried to do something on their trip, I would be like, don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Go have a beer. Go sit down. Go do something else. And so I tried to do that same thing. And then by the end, I'm like, I got way too used to this. I'm like, I don't want to. I came home. Madison's like, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. I'm like, this is my life now.
I am the bachelor.
No.
Yeah. I am the birthday boy. But yeah, it was a great trip.
Yeah. So we got some quads and we went riding in the mountains, played some golf, did a little bowling with that bowling alley that was in the house there.
Played some pickleball.
Pickleball tournament.
Oh, yeah, pickleball tournament. It was like podcasts for Madison. She's like, you have to start listening to podcasts. You'll like them. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I like music too much. Finally listen to podcasts. Now I'm like 50-50. You with pickleball, you're like, it's really fun. I'm like, I'd rather just play tennis. I don't know what my mentality is, that I'm just like, I don't want to do that. And then I did it one time and I was like, oh, Katie
It's
was
legit.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just went the other day, right?
Yeah, we went on the weekend. And like when you're playing with like 4 people, you just we played for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Got so tired. It was such a good workout.
Yeah.
So much fun. You've been playing for a while now,
A
right?
couple years, but I do think it is a dying fad.
Really?
Yeah, now there's like no one ever at the pickleball courts, as to where it used to be like you would have to wait
Good.
for a pickleball court.
I don't like lines.
Exactly.
so-
So this is the time to enter the sport.
So we're talking a little bit about Boyne Thunder today and kind of how that went. Right now it's Friday. We're in the midst of editing a couple videos from that event. And just thought it'd be cool to give a little bit of a recap, not necessarily day by day, but just some of the stuff that went down that people might not know about or might be interested that we had to go through in order to create these videos.
It was an intense weekend for sure.
Always is. It always is.
Yeah, seriously. It's that need to get as much as you possibly can within 3 days of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And then for you to cram all of that into an edit for the dinner video, it's just, there's a lot going on.
And I just got off the phone with Ingrid, and she was reiterating how important that dinner video was. The main video that comes out later, which is like 20 minutes or so, she was kind of like, it's okay, do whatever you got to do with that. I don't care when that gets out. The dinner video was her deliverable. That is like the differentiator between all these other poker runs and this one, among other things. Like, there's a lot that's special about Boyne Thunder. But that video and the attention, everybody watches it. Everybody pays attention. So for me, it's the most pressure. It's the most intense day of the year as far as work.
So for those that don't know, why don't you kind of explain like what that video is, how that came to be, why you offer it, what makes it so important to the event?
So Ingrid always wanted day of footage, just running footage of the boats to play at the dinner party. And she had good luck with that with the previous videographers that did this. But when it came time for me to have a shot at this, I wanted to do a little bit more than what she had gotten in the past. So we incorporated Thursday and Friday into the video, where Thursday we have the Bay Harbor lunch run. and then the American Custom welcome party after that. So we have 2 little bits, about a minute long each for those. And then we have about a minute long bit on the Friday street party. So all those have to be shot and edited in advance of Saturday. And then last year, she wanted the charities to also be included in there. So Katie and I went out and filmed with Camp Quality and Challenge Mountain in advance, about a month ahead of the event, and put together like a 1-minute edit for those as well. So this video ended up being like 8 or 9 minutes last year, and this year it was more like 11 minutes. So 5 minutes of that are dedicated to that weekend, I would say, stuff that we've already like made throughout the day or throughout the weekend, and then another 5 minutes of just running footage. So it's a couple songs this year. Thunderstruck was highly requested.
Back by
And
popular
it was a
demand.
hit.
Yeah.
People loved it.
Good. I just feel like it's kind of played out, but I guess not.
You know,
classic.
Yeah, you could think that, but every time that song comes on, I'm kind of getting a little bit hyped. It's just such a good riff.
You just
People
can't
loved it.
help yourself. You just want to be like, Thunder. Yeah, every time.
Yep.
I know. And then the people that normally just play the drinking game are like, okay, drink.
Yeah, a lot of people got drunk in that 5-minute segment of that video.
It came out to be like 11 minutes this year, and I'd say 5-6 minutes of that were running footage. So that's a quick edit right off the helicopter into scrubbing that footage and getting it in there.
I mean, you're landing the helicopter at lunch and dumping footage and scrubbing it during that period of time, then going back up just to be more prepared for when you get home.
Yep, got the laptop, got the hard drives, all that in the helicopter with me because I get about 45 minutes during lunch to go through all that footage. And I almost made it through the whole morning part of the footage at lunch.
And then you have Katie and I coming off of boats,
bringing
you additional footage, which we'll have to figure out something with that next year because it was so tight. I mean,
I know.
I was thinking this year, how the hell did you do this last year when our Airbnb was like 20 minutes further from the tent than it was this year? Like where did that time go? And so it baffled me. But yeah, so we came back with all of our footage, we dumped it, but at that point we couldn't really scrub any of it. It didn't make any sense. It just wouldn't have really added much, or you wouldn't have had time to really vet through it.
It was nothing but helicopter footage in the video, which I think that's like the most precious footage for people to see. But like the main video, I got a ton of your guys' footage from the boat-to-boat stuff. It was definitely a success, but that boat-to-boat content that you guys got, we didn't really get to use any of that. But I do want to hear how that went because it's quite challenging to just do Boyne Thunder. It's an extremely long run. The weather is unpredictable, and we did have some chop in the second half of the day. So what was that like trying to film from those boats?
I'll let Katie go first.
It was pretty challenging. I got beat up pretty bad. My whole legs are just bruised all down. But that was just from, I think, the camera setup. It just was a little too much. But it was nice we kept it nice and stable for the shot, but it was definitely hard to...
What did you have? You had a Ronin with two
the
handles?
handlebars, yeah.
Okay. So when you got bruises, that was the folded up stand that you're
jabbing
pinning up against
myself
yourself
into my thighs. Yeah. And then like I had my life jacket on, which thank goodness, because whenever I feel have my life jacket on, I feel like I'm just invincible. So like that was good. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, well if I fall off at least I'll float. So that made me feel better about like getting the shots and not hanging on. Mm-hmm. But then also like the other people on the boat with me were hanging on to my life jacket for me because I think they were more worried about me going overboard than I was.
That's what Madison was telling me. She was hanging onto your life jacket a little bit.
They kept taking turns of hanging onto my life jacket, which I appreciate. I don't know how much it did, but I stayed on the boat the whole time, so I guess that was a win.
And you got some good shots.
Yeah, I got some good shots. The gimbal did end up dying, so once that happened...
I'm so surprised by that. Like, I just thought that battery was going to last.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the wind just really was working those motors.
So what would you do differently this or next year based on how this year went? When you were on the boat?
I would stick with the gimbal, but I would remove the handlebars, and I wouldn't turn the gimbal on. I'd keep the gimbal on until we get through the lighthouse, and then I would turn it off for a little bit because there's like a stretch of time from the lighthouse in Charlevoix to Elk Rapids where there's not really like a whole lot of boat to boat. And then once the cats start passing me, I'd turn the gimbal back on. And I think if I would have done that, my battery would have lasted for a little bit longer.
Yeah, conserving energy
For sure.
The moments that
That's where
really
I just
matter.
kept it on the whole time during there, and I wasn't getting really much of anything.
Yeah, it's just working.
From
That
the
whole
exactly.
time.
It's just
Yeah.
bouncing around.
I brought a gimbal with me too, but it was the older one. What is it, an S? Ronin S?
Just the Ronin.
Just the Ronin, the original Ronin.
OG.
I struggled with that thing. I had my camera, I had a top handle, and I had a microphone plugged into the top handle, a condenser mic, and that was supposed to go on top of the Ronin. And I had balanced it before we left the house. And then when I got in the boat, I was doing some handheld footage, and then went down into the cabin to engage the Ronin to come back up for the parade laps, and it just was not something to do with it being on the water, I think, and it's old. I mean, I would not say that it's 100% not user error. Like, I will admit that there's a chance that I didn't balance it well enough.
Yeah.
But
It's tough with the top handle, though, because the wind catches that, and then that's blowing it backwards even more.
Yeah.
I think if we were going to use that one again, it's got to just be straight camera.
Well, that's what I did. So the first half, I used handheld, and it was okay. I mean, it made it a little bit easier when I pulled into when we pulled into Round Lake. I already was ready, so I got a lot of good crowd shots and stuff like that, which I would have wanted to be handheld instead of on the Ronin. But then once we got onto Lake Michigan, kind of like you were saying, that Elk Rapids rip, that I probably wouldn't shoot much of that, or shoot just the beginning of it when the cats do pass, when everybody's still kind of bunched up. But then at that point they separate. It's a long enough portion of the run that everyone gets spread out. I'd probably just put the camera down, save battery, and wait till we get to the card stop to start shooting some of that. But the second half of the run, I took everything off the camera and I put a smaller lens on it. So it was just a 50 millimeter lens and the camera, and that was it. And I put that on the Ronin, and it wasn't great, but it worked. Like you saw, it did.
Yeah, the second half of your footage was so much more usable.
Yeah,
It's just stable.
Yeah, it worked. And so now I know if I want to do that, that's going to be the setup for that Ronin, and I'll plan it a little bit differently.
Were you able to get the 1.4 aperture out of that lens with the ND on there during that shoot, or did you have to bump that up?
It was kind of like a constant battle of changing the ND, changing the aperture. I would keep the aperture as low as I could.
I feel like the ND had to stay on 5 stops the entire time.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was mostly either the aperture is going up or down. But it was, I would just pay attention to the data on the screen and try to keep it as low as I could.
Yeah, and we're trying to overexpose everything for the picture profile that we're using. So
We have a little bit more leeway with that picture profile.
all right, so let's stop boring everyone with picture profiles and continue to
I was
talk about
starting to get bored.
In summary, the boat to boat was difficult. I felt like I got a little beat up too, but we talked about it afterward. There's things that will change.
Yeah.
There's times where we'll put the camera down, just focus on staying on the boat and not thinking you're going to fly off, because at some point when they're spread out, there's not really anything to shoot. So that's what I would take away.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a nice doc for next year with all the stuff that we screwed up and the new things that we want to try next year. So that's what we try to do, just keep getting better every year. I think this video is going to be better than last year's. So
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Katie's loving the animations she's making.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I mean, the first year I did Boyne Thunder, I literally didn't know how to use the camera at all. Brad was just like point and shoot.
This was 3 years ago,
3
right?
years ago, yeah. It was just point and shooting. And
Yeah,
then
it was
this-
me, you, and Wank.
Yeah. And then the second year I had a little bit more understanding of like how to use the camera, kind of. Like I was just learning how to use the ND filter. I couldn't really take the ND filter off. Like I didn't know how to change a lens. Then this year it was like, wow, I fully understand the camera settings. I know how to use the ND filter. I know how to change the lenses. Like, oh, I got a new camera, the FX3, which was really awesome. I like that because I can see the screen with my sunglasses on, which is really important to me.
Because if your sunglasses come off, your eyes will leak.
Yeah, I literally can't see if I don't have my sunglasses on. So most of the time you see me,
it's a
I have
problem.
my sunglasses on.
Yeah, if you ever see Katie in the blue lens sunglasses, that it's for eye protection.
Yeah, that's
It's
a
not
medical
for style.
thing.
So don't judge me.
Nah, we would never judge.
No.
So you felt a pretty good jump from last year to this year,
For
though?
sure, yeah.
You seemed a lot more intense. Like you were shooting with intent. You knew what you had to do.
Exactly.
Like at lunch, you were there. You're knocking things out. You're running around. But it's like, all right, I'm going to check these boxes, then go sit down, eat, get back on the boat. Like it was like you knew what it was that you were there to accomplish.
For sure. I knew exactly what shots Brad would use. And I'm like, okay, well, I know he'll use that. I don't need to get anything else that he's not going to use. So
It's good. Time saver.
And we had a fourth member with us, Jordan Godin. He came up this year. He was up last year, actually, too. And he's like our designated drone pilot guy. So it was really nice to have him. And he'll be joining us next week on the podcast to talk about bringing up his Inspire and flying FPV and just hanging out with us. So I'm looking forward to that. And the main video should be done by then. So I think we're going to do a little bit of a director's cut where we talk through all the different shots and stuff. I think it'll be fun with him.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I got this one right before I nearly died.
You're always saying that you almost died.
You know what? It's not the safest job in the world, but it is fun and it is enjoyable.
It's so great to hear you say that.
So did you have moments where you literally were like, I feel like I could die right now?
I mean, when you're going 90, 95 on a boat and you're only holding on to a Ronin, I think that a miscalculation on the driver's part could send you,
For sure. But you had your life jacket on.
I did, yeah.
So at least they'd find your body. That was at least my thought process. Like,
That's a good way to think about it. Did I think I was going to die? Maybe not. I mean, that'd be like if you're driving in a car on the expressway, you could be like, yeah, at any moment, something could happen here. Sure. But I don't think about it like that. I'm just thinking about how dangerous is it to get this shot and is the shot worth it? That's what I was thinking about when we were out there. And that's what we talked about a lot afterward was like, okay, how do we limit that? Like, I have no problem getting on that boat or getting in the helicopter or whatever to get these shots. That doesn't faze me at all. But when I'm like, well, I'm holding on to this Ronin right now, there's no boats around me, and I'd rather just be holding on to the boat. That's when we're like, okay, let's make some adjustments so that way we can make that happen. Yeah. And then I know when I'm back at it or whatever. So I didn't feel like I was going to die, but there were times where I'm like, this is like, when can we limit
some calculated risk?
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your favorite moment on Boyne Thunder last week?
I think similar to the year before, it's hard to top Saturday night.
The dinner party.
Yeah. I mean, doing the events all the way through is a great time and it's challenging, but the feeling of relief that you get when you get to the auction and you see that the auction goes well this year, it went really well, so that was sweet. Watching you watch the video and it going off without a hitch because you're worried about, you were scrolling through it to try and get like a last minute look at it before turning it in, but that's not nearly as much of attention as we would give it if it was like a YouTube video or something.
Oh, not even close. We didn't even watch it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you would scrub to like 30 seconds. Does that audio work? Yep. All right, next 30 seconds is that. So it was like, it was a very broad.
So that was your favorite was watching that back,
watching
it work.
It works. The auction goes well. You have to imagine that video plays a part in that. And then you get done, and then you're just, we have a couple beers, and they play live music and stuff like that. So it's just the unwinding of a job well done.
Yeah, and it's so nice to have my parents there, too. This is the second year, I think.
Yep.
Second year that we've invited them up to come stay with us. They really appreciate that, and I get a lot of joy out of being able to do that for them. So they're there for the dinner party, and they're our biggest fans.
Oh my gosh, they are Brad's biggest fan for sure. Well, I don't know. Ingrid is like a pretty big fan of Brad, but your dad literally was recording the video on the screen while it was happening with his phone.
Yeah, like I can get you a copy.
Yeah, it's like we can get. Yeah, you're gonna see this again. But
yeah, your parents are always hyped during that.
They're great.
Yeah, it's funny. Like me personally, I have like an issue with taking praise. So like they always.
I don't like it either.
They give it to me, and I'm just
I
like,
love it.
You're like,
please praise
thank
me.
you, thank you. Yeah, me and Brad are like, that's fine.
Yeah, direct everything towards Katie, please.
Yeah, we're like, we would have done this differently, and we could have made this way better. Yeah. What about you guys, Katie? What was your favorite moment?
I think my favorite moment was after the dinner party video was over, and I just like felt so proud of just everything that we had done in that day, mostly of Brad just like always killing it. Like every time he kills it, I'm just like, oh, that was amazing. So like just that feeling after that was over, and I just like went up to him and was like, what did you just do? Like that was so cool. So
I think those were your exact words.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think that moment of just feeling just pure like so happy.
Joy.
Yeah.
It's almost like euphoric. You're proud of Brad, too.
It was.
It's just this whole culmination of the whole weekend.
Yeah. And I knew I was going to be proud of him and, like, proud of the video, but just, like, in that moment, it just really hits you.
I get nervous like before it starts.
Yeah.
I feel like that's this tension of like, oh God, here we go.
My mom came up to me when she saw just the unease on my face, and she's like, "What is this compared to for you?" And I'm like, "It's like going back to when I played sports pregame, and you're sitting there and you got the jitters, and it's like you're just ready. But once you get in the game, you're fine." That doesn't happen with this because you're in control when you're in the game. Like you can, dictate the outcome to some degree. With this, it's like I just hand it off and hope. So when that video didn't start, when the guy screwed up the start, I'm just like, oh, here we go. I have no control over this.
Well, it was a good recovery after that. But it's like, to your point, waiting until it's done, that's when you can feel good. Because at any point, something could have been wrong in Premiere or something like that.
When I hand it off to him to the end of the video is like the worst feeling of the year for me.
Just pure tension.
I mean, I'm sure you can just see. I just look terrible.
I forget. Do you remember you like walked up to Brad? It was like a simple question, and he was like really snippy with you.
Yes,
and
I remember.
You took offense, and I was just like, "This is the most intense moment of the year. Like, just maybe let that one go." And you're like noted. And like I was really proud of you in that moment too, because you did recognize. You're like, okay, I'll cut him a break on this one, because we work together. I sit so close to you guys all the time.
I don't let many stuff go.
I just experienced this relationship so often, and in that moment, I was like, that was very good of you.
Thank you.
That was very mature of you to be like, okay.
I had to say to myself several times, let it go.
I don't even remember what
it was something stupid. It was like, do you want me to make you a plate or something like that? And you're like, not right now. Like it was just something. It was so dumb.
Yeah, Katie trying to be nice and me just not being nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. We all just kind of like,
okay, fine.
let's just give it like 8 minutes. This video will be over, and then when the video's over, it's just good times.
Yep. And it was.
Yep. Grab a beer.
Dance to some music.
Yep.
Euphoric for sure.
Well, I'd have to say my favorite thing of the whole weekend was riding in the helicopter. I mean, that is always my favorite thing. It's a joy to just go over Michigan like that, like to go over the water like that. I've always loved boating in Michigan and freshwater, and there's nothing bigger than this event.
That water's so nice up there too.
It's so clear. I mean, you can see the shoals where they're going off, like where it gets real deep, and then where it's sandy, and going over a couple of those bays where people are all just rafted out, and everyone's so excited to see a helicopter. I mean, even us, when we're doing anything on the water, like, and you see a helicopter, you're waving. So every person that sees it is just like, hey, what's up? And I'm waving back whenever I can. Like, it's a hell of a time, and I love it.
You can't even deny that little feeling of like celebrity when everyone's just like so happy. To see
no
it.
one knows who's in it. They're just like helicopter.
Yeah, even like the whole run being on the boat and like people spectating and waving. I'm waving back too. I'm like, oh shit, I need to be filming this. But I'm like,
I kept doing that too.
Yeah, it feels good. It's undeniable.
It was funny because you got off the boat and you were like still waving at people.
Yeah, this is my boat.
That and I got to go on a boat this year. Last year I never got on a boat, but this year I went on the Thursday lunch run with Mike Knobloch and Tyler Blankenship. They took me over on their Nortec, so it was cool to get back out on the water too.
How about, I mean, we talked a little bit about the dangers of this weekend. I mean, our job in itself is, risky, but that's fun. That's why we do it. Keeps us young, keeps us alive. Did you have any specific moments where they were like, it was like relatively intense throughout that weekend shooting?
I was a little concerned for you and Jordan when you guys went up in the helicopter on Friday, just because it was his first time, and I didn't know if he was going to get motion sickness or if something on his camera was going to break or like fall off or something. Similarly, I was a little concerned about that camera on the back, just making sure that didn't fall off and it was secure. But after Friday, when both those things worked out, I didn't really have anything. And for myself, I didn't really have any fear or anything. We have such a good pilot and rider boss, and Pete does a great job navigating us all around. So I didn't have any concerns. I know you guys did.
Well, yes, but I will say from the helicopter standpoint, Ryder is a G.
Yeah, he's so great.
He's so smooth, and Pete has been doing this for a long time, and it's so nice to just be sitting in the back, shooting what you can and knowing that you're in good hands with those guys. From the boat, For sure. It's a little bit, it got a little dicey, like we talked about. I would say probably the last stretch between, was it Harbor Springs and then going back to Round Lake?
Yeah.
That's
that was rough.
Yeah, it got windier that day. Everybody is just like, that's the last stretch to go fast too. So people are getting it all out of their system. There's not really a lot of boats around because at that point the run is broken up a little bit. At some point, my gimbal had malfunctioned and I just turned it off and I'm holding it and it's an old one so it can't lock together, so I'm just trying to keep it all in one piece and I'm sitting in the middle of the back seat and I've got like my foot tucked under one of the lips of the seats just holding on, and I'm just like, and I'm tired too because like the whole day has gone by at that point. But I will say when I pulled into Round Lake after that, another euphoric moment where like everything was, I was so happy. I like forgot about everything, forgot about all of that intensity. I'm just shooting the crowd again and I'm just like taking a deep breath and that feeling, I almost don't want to like get addicted to that feeling because you have to go through that adrenaline rush to get to it.
That's the same feeling that I felt after the video was played.
Yeah, there's other ways to get it.
Like I landed in the helicopter, but I knew I had the next 3 hours were going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was like your end. That was the last thing that you needed to do. So, I mean, it's a similar feeling.
Yeah, definitely like a box check.
Yeah.
And just getting out of it.
Do you think you had that feeling at all? Was there any moment where you're like, okay, we did it?
I think overall I felt pretty neutral the whole time.
Really?
Just like,
Like stoic? Like you were just like...
I'm just like, yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really concerned about us not getting it. Like
That's fair.
I knew.
That's fair.
There was one moment that was very intense for me though. And it was when we were going from Charlevoix to Harbor Springs. And I was sitting on, I think, the right side of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And other boats were starting to pass us on the left side of the boat. So I said to Brian, like, hey, let's switch spots. And so I stood up and both my feet left the ground and I landed not where I was started off at.
Really?
And at that moment I was like, oh my gosh, I need to just sit down and stay seated. And then from that point, I did not film from to the rest of Harbor Springs because I was like, oh my God, that was actually very scary.
Hit a wave and transported.
Yeah, I was like, what? And then everyone, like Brian, Jordan, and Madison were all looking at like, what just happened?
Yeah, that goes one different way and you're...
They're like, grab her life jacket.
Well, that explains when I was scrubbing the footage and you were leaving Charlevoix and then you were in Bay Harbor.
Yeah.
Like, wow, all right, nothing there.
Yeah, I had to take a quick break.
I
from
did,
that.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like,
But
that was the moment
that's good. Put it down if you don't feel good about
that
it.
was the moment. I guess that's the moment where I was like, all right, I don't have this.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of help from others, aka people holding on to your life jackets so you don't fly off the boat. Another event where we got some help from other shooters, other videographers that were around. It's obviously worth it just to thank those people that are stepping up. And we had Jordan with us. I mean, he was doing that pretty much just for the experience. He stayed on the couch in the Airbnb. He was just kind of driving around in his truck and doing drone stuff anyway. So for him to come out and spend 3 days with us, and like you said, we'll talk to him a little bit more about it next week, but very generous. It was great to have him. He shot a lot. We used a lot of his stuff, even in that dinner video, and I'm sure you're going to be using a lot of it in the YouTube video as well.
Yeah, and he's been putting out a bunch of social content and collaborating with us on that too. So it's cool that you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes that he's putting out. Quite a few other people help us out with content this year. Mm-hmm. So Tyler Blankenship, for the third year in a row, is providing us GoPro footage. He goes around and puts a bunch of GoPros on some of the fast cats. He overlays the speed on there and gives us a nice finished clip. So appreciate that. Carson with MTI, he hooked us up with some footage. He was taking drone shots and he got some boat-to-boat stuff. Both those guys, thank you so much for that.
And then on top of all of that is that, the user submissions, the fan submissions.
First time trying that.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but when they saw that, I think it was Tyler, someone was just like, genius. Like, what a genius move.
We didn't really know if it was going to work or not. And beforehand, I was like researching some ways for people to upload stuff and couldn't really find a good solution that was, somewhat cheap and user-friendly. So I just made a Google Drive folder and people just could upload there. Didn't really think anything of it. Like, I thought maybe we'd get a couple people. But, I mean, we got like 300 plus videos from people.
I didn't know you got that much.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's people out on the pier that got every boat going by. Some people threw their own drone footage in there. One guy actually sent a fully edited video of the whole event. I'm like, wow. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but thank you.
People responded. People showed up
yeah.
with that. I was also surprised. The sheer number of videos was crazy.
And we didn't promote the submissions very well. I mean, Boyne Thunder account put it out a couple times. We put it out a couple times. I think people are just like stoked to have their video as part of this project.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
We're going to definitely put their names on the clips when we use them. It'll look like it's shot by a spectator. That's the idea. And that's something that we haven't had in this video before.
Yeah, there's no attempt at trying to make it look anything other than what it is, which is just like, here's a perspective of somebody that's just in it, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Tyler. I think that was such a good idea. And there's just so much that you're going to get from that.
So with the submissions, with our 3 cameras, Jordan's stuff, we were over 13 hours of footage that we had to go through, which is insane. 13 hours. And this week, up to this point, I've watched all 13 hours in real time. So I'm not scrubbing through fast. I just don't want to miss anything. And I know we reference back to this footage throughout the year. So I figured if I took one good pass at it, really got it all, everything, nothing missed, then it would help us for future projects when we need skater footage or MTI footage, or, Sensation wants to make a video recapping Boyne Thunder. I have a bank of all the Sensation footage already created. So I spent a lot of time on that, and that's probably why I'm not reaching my goal of having this video out today. I wanted it to be 1 week. I think we were 10 days last year, and we're going to end up being at like 10 or 11 days this year. So the video will go live next Thursday.
Well, I have to say I appreciate that you're taking your time with it. I know that we operate a lot on like the 80% rule, where it's, you get a video 80% of the way. How much more time are you going to spend on getting it to that 100%? You have to balance that with what's making the company money, like what's the most effective or efficient thing to do here. Mm-hmm. To slow down is a good thing sometimes.
And I think we got to give one more final thanks to Ingrid Day for bringing us back again this year. This is the 3rd year that she's had us do this project, and she's just such a joy to work with and really passionate about the event, wants to just raise as much money as possible for these charities, and that's really sparked a lot of what we do. And we just couldn't be more grateful for her to have us come do this event.
Should I play a song to play us out?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right, and next week we'll have Jordan on to continue talking about Boyne Thunder. The video will be out, so hopefully you guys enjoy it, and we'll be breaking it all down on the next podcast.
And a special thank you to our guest, Katie DiMaggio, finally on, welcomed into the podcast room.
Thank you.
Did a great job. We hope to have you back. Would you like to say any last words?
I also hope to be back, and I hope I did good enough to be invited back.
Let us know in the comments if you like Katie on the pod. Maybe she'll stay.
Yeah,
All
vote
right,
for
see
me
ya.
to stay.